ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਗੁਰੂ ਰੂਪ ਗੁਰੂ ਪਿਆਰੀ ਸਾਧ ਸੰਗਤ ਜੀ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ji ki fateh. So Maharaj has blessed us this opportunity to do satsangat, and when we're doing Simran within Sangat, we are actually practicing what is known as Dharma. We are practicing Simran, and at the same time we are practicing Dharma. Maharaj tells us in Gurbani, Dharma drido har naam te aavo, simrat naam dridaya. By doing Saskar Simran, Sasa Simran, we are actually practicing Dharma. Drid means to practice so that we make something firm within our mind. Naam nu drid karna, naam drid means to make naam firm within our mind. Dharma drid means to make dharma firm in our mind. Maharaj tells us in Gurbani, Dharma drido har naam te aavo, simrat naam dridaya. Practicing Dharma actually requires us to focus on Naam, which is done by doing Simran, as we were earlier, Saskara Simran, Sasa Simran, so that we get to that point where we attach ourselves to Naam inside. Naam, which is the celestial word, which comes from the mouth of Waheguruji, of the divine, of God. And our mind, once it connects to that Naam, it's to make that Naam firm within itself, so that the mind is always attached to Naam. Maharaj tells us in Gurbani, Dharma drido har naam te aavo, simrat naam dridaya. So by doing Naam Simran, chanting the Gurmat, we are trying to get to that celestial word, the divine word, Naam, inside and connect with it. Today's topic is basically on Dharma. What is Dharma actually? So when scholars define Dharma, when people that are only full of worldly knowledge define Dharma, they give it a definition usually as religion. Within Maya, though, Dharma has many different definitions, but the rough translation that comes across that we find in books and in different scholarly papers is religion. But that definition doesn't actually do justice to what Dharma actually is. Dharma, if it is defined as religion, people of the world are split along the lines of religion. And because of that, they fill themselves up with hatred for one another, because the other may prescribe to a different religion from them. What is Dharma in reality? So if we go search Gurbani and we ask the Paaths what religion they belong to, then we find out that Dharma, being defined simply as religion, isn't an accurate definition. For instance, Bhagat Kabirji, they come from a faith which their family background is from the Muslim faith. Hence, many scholars say that Bhagat Kabirji is Muslim. When we ask Bhagat Kabirji what religion they belong to, what they think about these divisions, Bhagat Kabirji says, Hindu Turk kahan te aaye, kin e raah chalai. That where did the Hindu, the Turk, the Musliman come from? Who created these paths? So Bhagat Kabirji actually questions these definitions of Hindu, Muslim. These are labels that have been created by man, not the divine. In Gurbani, Maharaj tells us there's actually only two paths. One is the path of Maya, where our mind remains asleep within Maya and is connected with lust, anger, greed, worldly attachment, and ego, Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Ahankar. That path is known as Tat. The other path is Liv, the path of love, the path by which our mind can actually connect with the divine, where our mind installs within itself good qualities like humbleness, contentment, compassion, etc. That path is called the path of Liv. That path takes us to our divine home from where we all came from. And that path, the path of love, is the path that we must traverse to get to Vaheguru, to get to God. So these labels within this world, these Hindu or Turk, Hindu, Muslim, Christian, and today's world, the way we define ourselves as Sikh, the labels we give ourselves or the meaning intent behind them is more man-made than what is from the divine. Bhagavad Kabir Ji says, if we ask further what religion they belong to, they say, Na hum Hindu, na Musliman, Allah Ram ke pind paran. Kaho Kabir eho kiya vakhana, gur pir mil khud khasm pashana. That Bhagavad Kabir Ji says, I am not Hindu, I am not Musliman. That my life force, the air that I breathe, belongs to Allah Ram. Kaho Kabir eho kiya vakhana, gur pir mil khud khasm pashana. So Allah and Ram are names of the divine, of Vaheguru, of God. And they control our life force, the air that we breathe. Bhagavad Kabir Ji says, through a guru, through a peer, I have met the divine. I have recognized the divine. So this defies what we would learn from scholars, because scholars would probably say that Bhagavad Kabir Ji was Muslim. Once upon a time when I was younger, I had read an article by one scholar that said that Bhagavad Kabir Ji was Muslim, but he converted to Hinduism because he went into the shelter of Bhagavad Ramananji. But here Bhagavad Kabir Ji says that they're not Muslim, they're not Hindu. And then they say that through their teacher, through their spiritual master, Guru Pir, they have recognized and met the divine, the Lord. If we ask Bhagavad Namdev Ji also tells us similarly that they're above these labels. Bhagavad Namdev Ji says, Hindu Anna, Turku Kana, Dohante Gyani Syana. That the Hindu is blind and the Turk, the Muslim, can only see in one eye. Dohante Gyani Syana. And the Gyani, the one with knowledge, divine knowledge, is wiser than both. Hindu puje dehora Musliman masit, name soi sevya je dehora na masit. The Hindu worships at the mandir. The Muslim goes to the masjid, the masjid. Name soi sevya je dehora na masit. Bhagavad Namdev Ji says, I worship, I serve the one that is beyond the mandir, beyond the masjid, beyond the masjid. So Bhagavad Namdev Ji here clearly states that they worship the one who is free of the mandir, free of the masjid. And the reason they're saying the Hindu is blind is they're saying that the Hindu, the way they worship the different forms of Devi Devte, different akars, they don't recognize Nirgun Sarup, formless Vaheguru Ji, the formless Lord, who is actually in the form of light, Prakash. The Musliman is blind in one eye as they only talk about the Nur, the light of God, but they don't keep their own body fully intact. They perform sunnat and they don't see the light of God within all. So Bhagat Namdev Ji is talking about the people that prescribe to those faiths that don't understand divine knowledge. So this leaves a question to us. What is Dharma in reality? In Maya, Dharma has been given many different definitions within this Maya, within this world. Dharma is sometimes defined as law, like the law of nature, law of gravity. That would be a definition of Dharma as well. For instance, the Dharma of fire would be to burn. The Dharma of water would be to quench thirst or put out the fire. And then there's a law of karma. So Guru Sahib uses that as well in Gurbani. So, for instance, if we look at the law of karma, the law of karma is that whatever action you do within this world, within this life, is going to have a reaction. Whatever goes around comes around. And our karma, our actions that we've done, whether it's from our past lives or this current life, they go with us until we have reaped the benefits or the punishment of whatever action we've done. And Maharaj in Gurbani tells us that this karma is a law. But if we get rid of duality inside us, hatred inside us, if we get rid of that, and we go into the state of forgiveness, where if someone does say something to us, we recognize that we may have committed a karma either in this life, and if it's not in this life, it was somewhere in our past, somewhere previous life. Depending on what happens, we then realize this, that we cannot blame others for what happens in life, that it's all the blame of our own karma. That we forgive others. We come into the state of forgiveness, where if someone says something bad to us, we forgive them. Maharaj says, Dubda mate khima ge rahe ho, karma dharma ki sool na sahe ho. That if we enter that state of forgiveness where we forgive others, where we rise above duality, above hatred, then we don't have to suffer from the law of karma anymore. Because the law of karma is just to teach our mind a lesson of whatever we give out into this universe is what we receive back. That's why Maharaj says, Dadda dos na deu kisai, dos karma apneya, jo main kiya so main paya, dos na dijai avrajana. That we can't blame others for what happens. We can only blame our own karma. By our own actions, whether it's from this life or previous lives, is what we are having to handle currently. So that's one definition of dharma that's given within the state of Maya, which Maharaj uses as well to tell us how we can escape from the law of karma. Then dharma is also defined as responsibilities. For instance, as in the dharma of a husband, a wife, a parent, a child, each have different responsibilities within life. The dharma of a king, to protect the citizens, to help its citizens. That's what the dharma of a king would be. Maharaj also talks about this in Gurbani. Maharaj tells us in India during the rule of the Mughals, the Kshatriya caste abandoned their dharma of protecting others. Because Kshatriya, that's what they used to do. They used to protect others. And the same Kshatriya started to speak the language of the invaders, i.e. the Mughals, who had invaded India. Maharaj says, Khatriya ta dharm shodya, malech pakhya gahi. Srisht sab ik varn hoi dharm ki gat rahi. That the Kshatriyas basically stopped doing their duties of protecting others. They no longer took up that responsibility, and instead they started speaking like the invaders. They started mixing in with the Mughals, and no one was protecting anyone from those invaders. The world, Srisht sab ik varn hoi, dharm ki gat rahi. The world became one social status, as everyone just got enslaved. Dharma, true dharma, was lost. Then Maharaj tells us that dharma is also defined as righteousness, which is a part of Satoguna, where we get the commodity of dharma. ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਧਰਮ ਦਾ ਸੌਦਾ in Gurmat. We get the commodity of dharma, and the mind becomes righteous. And what is that commodity? How does the mind become righteous? By installing within itself the values of compassion, humbleness, patience, commitment, being honest, truthful, and being content, having contentment within ourselves. Maharaj tells us in Gurbani, in fact, a person that has compassion within themselves can only have dharma within themselves. Dharma is the son of compassion. Dharma cannot exist if there's no compassion within yourself. Maharaj says, Tol dharma daya ka poot. Compassion, love, that's a part of Satoguna. It's needed. This broadens our understanding of dharma. Maharaj tells us in Gurbani that dharma is also known as a ladder, or the path of the saints to meet the divine. Maharaj says, Sant ka marg, dharma ki paudi, ko vadpagi paye. This ladder of dharma, the path of a saint, is only blessed to the fortunate ones, those who have great fortune. So this means that dharma leads us to unite with the Lord. That's what saints do. They meet Vaheguru. They meet God. Maharaj says the highest of all dharma is to practice Naam, by which we meet the Lord going through Satoguna. So within all these definitions, if we look at it, Maharaj then tells us, of all dharma, sarb dharma, mein sreshth dharma, of all dharmas, the highest dharma of all is har ko naam jap nirmal karm, attaching the mind to naam and performing nirmal karma. Nirmal karma means that action by which no filth comes upon our mind. Sarb dharma mein sreshth dharma, har ko naam jap nirmal karma. So through Guru Sahib, through Gurbani, we learn a holistic definition of dharma, where one traverses the path to meet the divine, installing the values of Satoguna inside, that compassion, that humbleness, humility, which is the path of love. As mentioned earlier, live. Traveling the path of love, while being mindful of their responsibilities within Maya, in whatever role a person plays. As Maharaj says, one does not need to physically distance from Maya. One can stay within Maya and practice such truth, which is another name for the Lord, and practice Naam. That's why Guru Sahib says, Kahe Nanak Gur Prasadi Jina Liv Lagi Tini Viche Maya Paya. That those who stay within Maya and connect with Naam while staying within Maya, they meet God, they merge into Vaheguru. This path is realized through the true Guru, Satguru, as Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji teaches us a complete technique. while living in Maya, how we can meet the Lord. Maharaj ਫਰਮਾਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਵਿੱਚ, ਨਾਨਕ ਸਤਿਗੁਰ ਭੇਟਿਆ ਪੂਰੀ ਹੋਵੇ ਜੁਗਤ ਹਸੰਦਿਆਂ ਖੇਲੰਦਿਆਂ ਪਹਿਨੰਦਿਆਂ ਖਾਵੰਦਿਆਂ ਵਿੱਚੇ ਹੋਵੇ ਮੁਕਤ. That through the Satguru, the true Guru, we get the complete technique. While laughing, while playing, while wearing clothes, while eating, we can become liberated. Meaning that while we're within Maya, going about our life, we can connect with Vaheguru Ji. As mentioned before, there's only two paths. Live, the path of love, that same ladder of Dharma, or the path of a saint. And then there's the path of Paath, which is where we connect with the 5 demons inside: lust, anger, greed, worldly attachment, and ego. Maharaj says, live Tat doe raah hai hukmi kar kamaye. That live and Tat are the 2 paths, but we enter Maya, and the command of Vaheguru Ji is to connect with the Naam while we're wandering within Maya, to always remain in Hukum. Hukmi kar kamaye. That whatever action we do, we should always be connected to the Hukum. Hukum is the command of God, which is the divine word, which is what Vaheguru Ji speaks. Now, anyone that takes up the path of the saints, they are known as Gurmukhs. They follow the path laid out by the spiritual masters. Hence, Bhagats like Bhagat Kabir Ji, Bhagat Namdev Ji, they're known as Gurmukhs. And Gurbani mentions many Bhagats that were from prior jugs, prior time periods as well. Like Bhagat Prahlad Ji from Satyug, Raja Janak Ji, Rishi Vashisht from Treta Jug. Maharaj says that they're all Gurmukhs. Gurmukh Prahlad Japa Hargat Pai. That Bhagat Prahlad Ji, they're Gurmukh. They chanted the name of the Lord and they became liberated. Gurmukh Janak Har Naam Levlai. The Raja Janak Ji from Treta Jug is also Gurmukh. They connected with Naam. Gurmukh Vasisht Har Updesh Sanai. The Rishi Vashisht, who was the guru of Ramchandra Ji in Treta Jug, they were also Gurmukh. They taught others how to connect with the Lord. Bin gur har naam na kine paya mere pai, Gurmukh har bhagat har aap lahai. That without the Guru, no one has been able to connect with Naam. Gurmukh har bhagat har aap lahai. That the Gurmukhs are Hari's, Paramatma's, Vaheguru Ji's bhagats. And Maharaj blesses those Gurmukhs themselves. Maharaj also states, now we talked about Satjog, Treta, those are bhagats from those jogs. Raja Janak Ji, Rishi Vashisht, Bhagat Prahlad Ji. And in Kaljug is when Bhagat Namdev Ji came, Bhagat Jayadev Ji came, Bhagat Kabir Ji came, Bhagat Lochan Ji came, Bhagat Ravidas Ji came. Maharaj calls them all Gurmukhs. Maharaj says in Gurbani, Mere man naam japat udare. That my mind, by chanting Naam, you can become liberated. Tru, Prahlad, Bidar Dasi Sut, Gurmukh Naam Tare. Rahav. That Bhagat Trun Ji, Bhagat Prahlad Ji, Bhagat Bidar Ji, who was from Dwapar Jug, they connected with Naam and they crossed the Pavasagar, the ocean of fear. Kaljug Naam Pradhan Padarat Bhagat Janna Udare. That in Kaljug, the dark age, Naam is the highest of all. The Naam is the highest gift of all. And Bhagats, saints connect to that Naam and they get liberated. Nama Jai Deo Kabir Tralochan Sab Dokh Ge Chamare. That the Bhagats, as mentioned, Bhagat Namdev Ji, Bhagat Kabir Ji, Bhagat Jayadev Ji, Bhagat Tralochan Ji, Bhagat Ravidas Ji, all their pains went away. Gurmukh Naam Lage Se Udare Sab Kilbikh paap tare. That those Gurmukhs connected with Naam and all Gilvik, paap, sins were eradicated. So then this tells us that Dharma is much more than that simple definition that scholars make of religion. Dharma is the path to meet the divine, where we install those righteous qualities within us, make our mind pure through practice of Naam, through practice of Sach. That's why Dharma is to practice Naam, practice Sach. Because to do that, you have to go upon the path of the saints. That's why Maharaj says, Eko Dharma Dridha Sach Koi, Gurmat Pura Jug Jug Soi. Eko Dharma Dridha Sach Koi. That practicing Sach is Paramatma, truth. Gurmat Pura Jug Jug Soi. That through Gurmat, the teachings of the Guru, one becomes perfect throughout all ages. Now, then the question remains, ourselves, we say that we are a Sikh, right? What's the definition of a Sikh then? Sikh actually means student. Everyone that comes into this mandal, this area, this Maya, actually comes here as a student, as a Sikh, a Sikhyarthi. And they are to learn how to meet the divine. We become Gur Sikhs, Guru's Sikhs, when we enter the shelter of Satguru. Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji has that title of Satguru. Satguru is also used for Vaheguru Ji themselves. Vaheguru Ji is also known as Satguru. The Divine Lord is also known as Satguru. Satguru blesses us, blesses their Sikh with Naam. That's why Guru Granth Sahib Ji and Guru Sahibaan, they're always known as Jagat Guru. Like Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji to Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji, Sri Guru Granth Sahib, they're known as Jagat Guru. Dasan Paatshaahiyan ਤੇ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਗਤ ਗੁਰੂ ਕਿਹਾ ਹੋਇਆ ਹੈ. Our Guru Sahibaan are known as Jagat Guru because they're Guru for everyone. It doesn't matter what community someone prescribes to, Guru Sahib is everyone's Guru. A student requires a teacher, a Guru, a Murshid to teach them. Our teacher is Guru Granth Sahib Ji. Satguru blesses the Sikh, the discipline to travel this path of the saints. So Maharaj tells us that a Sikh is one that gets up early and connects with Naam, first and foremost. Guru Satguru, the Sikh of the Guru, the Sikh of the true Guru. Guru Satguru ka jo Sikh akhai so palke uthar naam te aave. Udam kare palke prabhati isnan kare Amrit saranave. That the Guru Sikh gets up and connects with Naam first and foremost in their daily routine. When they get up and they wake up in the morning, they first of all connect with Naam. They connect with the Lord through that Naam. And then they bathe their mind in Amrit Sar, where our mind receives nectar inside. Updesh Guru Har Har Jap Jape, Sab Kilvik, Paap Dokh Le Jave. And then, according to Guru's teachings, they chant the name of the Lord, and all their sins, all their paap, all their pains go away. Fir chade divas gurbani gaave bende uthde har naam te aave. When the day keeps going on, then they read Gurbani. Jo saas gras dhyaye mera har har so gur se guru man paave. Anyone that does saas gras Simran, that Guru Sikh is pleasing to the Guru. So even in older time periods, Purane Jug, before Kal Jug, before this dark age, a Guru was always necessary to travel this path. Naam itself is also known as Shabd Guru. There have been chances, but it's been very rare that a mind has connected directly with Shabd Guru without having a guru on the physical plane. So Guru Gobind Singh Ji made the maryada, the discipline of a Sikh entering the shelter of Guru to present themselves before the Panj Pyare, who are also Guru Roop, the five beloved ones, when they are within the presence of Satguru Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. So we go through the Panj Pyare and then we connect with Satguru. Satsangat is Guru Sahib's classroom, where a Sikh, a student, comes to learn the virtues of the Lord and how to connect with Nam and meet the Lord. Maharaj tells us in Gurbani, Satsangat Satgur Chittasal hai jita har gun sikha. That Satsangat is where we learn about Vaheguru Ji, about the Lord, about the qualities of the Lord. Satsangat is Guru Sahib's school. In Satsangat, we learn about Naam. Maharaj says, Satsangat kaisi jani hai jithe eko naam wakhani hai, eko naam hukum hai nanak satgur diya bajaye jiyo. As mentioned before, Naam, the divine word, is the command of God. And when we go into Sangat, we actually learn about that Naam. Where Naam is talked about, where Naam is discussed, that is that true Sangat, where we learn through Gurbani about Vaheguru Ji's divine command and how to connect with that Naam. So Maharaj makes it clear to us that this is the path that a saint would take to meet the Lord. And in the Lama, Maharaj tells us how we too can connect with the divine and what stages our mind goes through to make that connection. Maharaj tells us that Har Peladi Lam Pravirti Karam Dradaya Balaram Jiyo. That the first Lam, Maharaj tells us about the spiritual journey to meet the divine, the Lord. Just as a bride goes from her paternal home to her husband's home, the bride has more responsibility on her shoulders when she enters her husband's home. Thus her actions carried out after marriage are different than before marriage. Before our mind connects with the divine, we remain in Maya and we're in the stage of being Nivirt instead of Pravirt. But Maharaj tells us that we have to do Pravirti Karma. So we bring about a change in our Karma and we do Pravirta Karma so that we start to practice while being within Maya how to meet the divine. Maharaj says, Bani Brahma Ved Dharm Drido, Paap Tajaya Balaram Jiyo. That we have to practice the divine knowledge that's blessed to us. As Guru Sahib gives us that divine knowledge through Gurbani. When we practice that divine knowledge, we start to traverse this path and we start to install that knowledge within our mind. Bani Brahma. Ved is the Bani that Brahma Ji produced from their own mouth, and that Ved is Chauthe Pad Bani. It's above Maya. Guru Sahib has given us Gurbani, which is divine knowledge, which is above Maya. We have to practice that divine knowledge. And then doing so, we rise above Kam, Krodh, Lomo, Ahankar, above Paap, above sin. Dharm Drido Har Naam Te Avo Simrat Naam Dradaya. That we are practicing Dharma when we start to do Simran, when we start to practice Naam. Satgur Gur Pura Arado, Sab Kilvik Paap Gavaya. That when we start to practice life according to Gurmat, according to discipline laid out by our Guru, then our mind connects with Satguru, connects with Guru, and we rise above all bad actions, above Paap, above Kilvik. Sin departs from us. Sehj Anand Hoa Dapagi Man Har Har Meetha Laya. And as we practice, in the first stage, our mukh, mouth, starts to taste sweet because we get Amrit ras inside, which brings our mind peace. And that's the nectar that's given to us through the meditation. Jan kahe Nanak lav pehle aramb kaj rachaya. Then Maharaj tells us that in the second stage, Har dujadi lav Satguru Purkh Malaya Balaram Jiyo. Nirpo pੈ man hoye home mail gawaya Balaram Jiyo. That Satguru introduces us to the Lord through Gurbani, and if you go through the Panj Pyare, you actually get to see the Brahmjot. We free ourselves of fear and ego and start to recognize the Lord as being in all forms. Nirpo pੈ man hoye home mail gawaya Balaram Jiyo nirmal pau paya har gun gaya har vekhe ram hadure. We start to sing the praises of the Lord, and we see Vaheguru as being in all forms. We see all forms as being of Vaheguru's. All the sargun that we see. Har atam ram pasaraya swami sarv reha prapure. And we start to recognize that there's two forms of Vaheguruji. One is sargun and one is nirgun, the formless one. Now, Maharaj then says, Antar bahar har prab eko mil harjan mangal gaye. That inside and outside, there's one, the Lord only. And joining the saints, Harjan, sing the praises of the Lord. Jan Nanak duji lav chalai anhad shabd bajai. That in the second lam, we start to hear celestial music inside. So when you're hearing anhad shabd inside, that means that you are at that second lam. You're at that second stage to meet the Lord. After that, Maharaj says, Har tijadi lam man chao pya bairagiya Balaram Jiyo sant jana har mel har paya vadapakiya Balaram Jiyo. In the third lam, Maharaj tells us that we start to hear Vaheguruji's voice as the celestial music. However, at that point, we still haven't merged into the divine to complete our marriage. At this point, the mind comes into so much love that it keeps longing for the Lord and enters the congregation of the saints. And our mind hears the story of how we had come into Maya and separated from the Lord and how we are to merge again. Sant jana har mel har paya vad pagiya Balaram Jiyo nirmal har paya har gun gaya mukh boli har bani. Sant jana vad pagi paya har kathiya kath kahani. We hear a Katha then. The story of Nirgun, how we separated from Vaheguruji and how we are to merge back with Vaheguruji. Hirda har 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 tun upji har japiya mastak paag jiyo. That out of that celestial music, the har tun appears, which is also known as Saj tun. So at this point, usually when you've done so much abhyas, practice of the Gurmantar, you've taken your Gurmantar abhyas to the point of Rom Rom Simran, where with your Hirdadi Tadkan, your heartbeat, your pulse, when you focus inside, wherever you feel that pulse, the Gurmantar starts. You've taken the Gurmantar abhyas up to that point. And as the Anhad Shabds play, when you focus in on them, you start to hear the Saj Tun. Saj Tun is that celestial sound which doesn't break in between, continuously flows, continuously sounds so that there's no break in between and your mind starts to merge with that sound. Jan Nanak bole tiji lava har upja man bairag jiyo. And in this third lam is where there's all this vairag, this thirst to meet the Lord. That's where a saint's eyes would be filled with tears in love and longing for that opportunity to meet Vaheguru, longing for that opportunity, that time when I'm going to meet Vaheguruji inside. Har chauthadi lav man sej pya har paya Balaram Jiyo. The fourth lam describes the state of bliss, sej, once the mind merges with the Lord, completing the marriage. Our mind becomes a Gurmukh, has the traits of a true Gurmukh. Our mind is connected with the sweetness of the Lord day and night. We remain forever connected to Vaheguruji. Gurmukh milaya subai har mantan meetha laya Balaram Jiyo. Har meetha laya mere prapaya andan har lavlai. Here Maharaj is talking about how we keep getting that nectar inside. Amrit ras. That's that mithas, that sweetness that comes inside. Man chindya phal paya swami har naam vaji vadai. And whatever our ichama are, what our wants are in our world here, God blesses us with everything. Har Prabh Thakur kaj rachaya tan hirday naam vagasi. That Hari, Paramatma, they are the ones that have helped us join themselves. Jananak bole chauthi lave har paya Prabh avinasi. That in the fourth lam, the fourth stage is where we meet the Divine Lord and merge with Him permanently. The reason the four lama are actually spoken at an Anand at a wedding is because those two, the husband and wife, or the man and woman that are going into that relationship of husband and wife, they are reminded that our mind itself is the soul bride of the Lord, the Supreme Soul Husband. And our mind is to reach that point as well. And those that enter that relationship of husband and wife, they're both then reminded that they too, once they traverse this path, can meet the divine and become one with each other as well. Thus, Guru Sahib teaches us the path to true love. Guru Sahib teaches the path to true love, which leads the Gurmukhs to unite with the Lord. And those that journey on the same path become one light as well, as soulmates. So their relationship extends eternally to the divine. This love is achieved through effort on this path, by meditating on the Lord. When both husband and wife listen into Anhad Shabds, their minds start to become one. The mind is actually light form. And those that become one are true husband and wife inside. Maharaj says, Tan pir ena akhiyan, behan ikatthe hoye, ek jot doi murti, tan pir kahi soye. That husband and wife aren't those who merely just sit together, eat together. They're actually one light in two different forms. And they become one when they listen to that Naam inside. Maharaj says, Nanak ek jot doi murti sabd milava hoye. That those in two different forms become one when they meet with the Shabd. This is called true love. Sach kahon sun leho sabay jin prem kiyo te nahi prabh payo. Anyone that has that true love within themselves for the Lord, they can actually merge inside as well. That's why Maharaj has told us those that travel on this path of love, they can never be separated again. Their relationship becomes permanent. Nanak Gurmukh mil rahe, fir vishoda kade na hoye. Gurmukhs that travel this path, they never separate from one another. Manmukhs, on the other hand, they stray from the path of love. They follow the five demons: Kam, Krodh, Loma, Ahankar, lust, anger, greed, worldly attachment, and ego. And they are on the path of Tat instead of the path of live. A Manmukh never gets to realize such true love. Thus, being friends with a Manmukh leads to pain, as the Manmukh remains asleep in Maya and has love only for Maya. Maharaj says, Manmukh sunkar dosti sukh ke puchhe mit. That if you're befriending a Manmukh, what peace, what sukh are you going to get? What peace are you asking for? Maharaj tells us in Gurbani, Manmukh sunkar dosti sukh ke puchhe mit. Gurmukh sunkar dosti satgur sun lai chit, जम्मण मरण का मूल कटिए तां सुख होवी मित. That befriend Gurmukh, connect with Satguru, then your pain of the life-death cycle will come to an end, and you'll have forever bliss, peace. So Maharaj is actually telling us about what true love is and how we can merge with the divine. If you have any questions, you can ask within the YouTube comments, and then we can take questions for 9 minutes. So as we were talking about actions, karma, our past karma comes with us, and the karma, the action that we do in this life, continues forward as well. Now, once a karma is committed, whether the result is good or bad, we have to reap that benefit or that punishment of such karma. Now, the only way that we can cut away our bad karma without having to reap the punishment for our karma is to actually do Simran. Maharaj says, Gur ka sabd kata kot karma. That Guru's shabd cuts away millions of karma. Bad karma start to disappear when we practice Guru's shabd, when we do Simran. So that is one method by which we can actually come into peace, come into bliss, get rid of our pains through Simran, through connecting with the divine. Then our mind always remains blissful no matter what. So it's important that we traverse this path, do Simran. If we choose not to, whatever actions we commit now, at the end of life, we will have our mind awoken rudely by the messengers of death. And when we awaken and our Hisab Kitab happens, our entire Katha of where we spent our swas, the air we breathe, is looked at. And then we're sent into our next form. This karma that we do now is going to affect that decision. We are now, if disconnected from Nam, disconnected from this path, we are asleep in Maya. And if we are asleep in Maya, we are just dreaming. This life is just a dream then. And the actions that we are taking in this life are gonna impact the subsequent dreams that we will have to enter. So it's better to awaken our mind now by connecting with the Nam, so that we are not put into this sleep of Maya over and over again. Because that next form that we get isn't necessarily going to be human if we haven't done the right karma, the right deeds in life. Vaheguruji, when we are putting our baby child to sleep, is it okay to sing a shabd to put them to sleep, or Simran better? Both are fine. What happens is that usually you want your mind to go to one point. So if you sing a shabd, Gurbani da shabd hove, like what will happen is that your mind is still going above the triguna as long as you're not focusing just on the tune, because the tune is satoguni. You don't want your swas just to be deposited there. But what is best is that if you are singing a shabd as you look at the baby, that drishti is going on the baby, and then slowly change it to Simran. So as you sing the shabd, slowly go towards doing Simran as the baby falls asleep, so that the mind of the baby can come to one point as well, and it's not focusing on your tune, it's just focusing on the Gurmantar. Okay, so another question is, some people say you don't need to do hours of Simran, just have bhav, love, but how can we have both? Okay, so when someone has love within themselves, they will do Simran. Simran means to remember, and we only remember the Lord if we have love within ourselves. And as we first push our mind to go on this path, and we start to connect with the Lord inside, being free of thoughts, that love starts to well up inside us. We start to develop that love as well. So both are important, but by doing Simran, that's how love comes about inside as well. So Thai Maharaj kende Agrabani vich ki sun sun naam tumhara pritam prab bekhan ka chao, that by hearing your naam inside, I get this thirst, desire to meet you. So that love is what increases. That's why when we were talking about the Lama, first a person has to put in some effort. And then by the second Lam, you start to hear celestial shabds, celestial sounds. By the third, you start to have virag. That's where that virag is, where that love is at high levels. So Simran is where we end up getting that love inside. And then when you have that love inside, then that Simran automatically keeps happening. Waheguru Ji, please tell, if somebody believes in Hinduism faith and wants to do chant mantra which belong to his faith, what is Pawan mantra for Hinduism faith? First of all, I want to say, just as we talked about today, that Dharma is actually above these labels that we have. So no one should have an issue with chanting Gurmat, Waheguru Gurmat. Gurmat, Waheguru is given to us by Guru, and Guru is Guru for all, not just people that prescribe to what we would say the Sikh faith. But if someone is a bit rigid in their beliefs that they do not want to chant any other mantra, then in that faith they can actually say Om Namah Shiva, as they say Om Namah Shiva, Om Namah Shiva. As they say Om, they're supposed to breathe in, just get them to pull their stomach in, and Namah Shiva, get them to let their stomach out a bit as they exhale. That is something they can do. But if they're willing to chant the Gurmantar, Waheguru Gurmantar, then there's nothing wrong with that, because that Gurmantar is given to us by Guru, and Guru is Jagat Guru for everyone. Okay, so Waheguru Ji, it was fantastic, so please upload it so it can be available for every blessed person who ever needs this message from Guru Sahib. Maharaj Kripa Karan. Waheguru Ji, is the soulmate and twin flame same thing? Here, as per Gurbani, Waheguru Ji is our twin flame and soulmate. So can we consider our spouse as same if we listen to Shabds? Twin flame is not something that I'm familiar with as a term. I know what soulmate means. It's where you become one inside. And yes, whoever goes on this path, they can become one inside. And technically, when our mind merges into the Lord, and anyone that we love, they merge into the Lord, you'll never be separated again. That's what true love is about. Everyone says they love each other. But when we have to depart from this physical body, then if we haven't done Simran, we don't know if we'll ever unite ever again. That's why it's important that we do Simran. That's why if we actually love people in our life, we want to lead them to do Simran as well, so that we can go to that point where we never separate from each other, ever. Alright, so if you accidentally eat something with egg cake, do you need to retake Amrit? Brilliant advice in Katha. Okay, so here's the thing, like if you accidentally eat something that not done on purpose, that doesn't mean your Amrit breaks. Accidentally means that you just accidentally took something and your intention wasn't so. You can then just ask Guru Sahib for forgiveness. Guru Sahib's very forgiving. Amrit doesn't break like that. The karats, the Bajra karats, we can't cross those lines, that we can't do certain things. If we've done something accidentally in the situation of eating something that we weren't supposed to eat, that's something you can just ask Guru Sahib for forgiveness, they forgive you. Bajr karats, in the sense that any karat that's done purposely, that breaks your tie with your Guru. Accidentally is usually something that we've eaten, or accidentally intook something we didn't know what it was or what was in it. That doesn't necessarily break Amrit. You can just ask for forgiveness, and that's something that you can do. Just go to Guru Sahib, say, Maharaj, mein galti hogi, mainu maaf karyo. That doesn't break Amrit. Amrit isn't kacha taga that breaks. Amrit is blessed to us by Guru Sahib. So if that was not intentional, then you can just ask for forgiveness. Thank you, Wagyu. Much gratitude for your lovely answer. I hope this helps. So we are planning to actually do every Saturday as English. That way the new generation can actually get some guidance from Gurbani. So ਅੱਜ ਇੰਨੀਆਂ ਹੀ ਬੇਨਤੀਆਂ ਸਨ. ਜਿੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਕੋਈ ਗਲਤੀ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਹੋਵੇ ਅਣਜਾਣ ਸਮਝ ਕੇ ਮਾਫ ਕਰਨਾ ਜੀ. Please forgive any mistakes I've made in speaking. ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ.